My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice cold. I'm only here to even the score. Whoa. My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice cold. We down right now, but did it before. Whoa. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up.
What up, Nine Nation? It's your boy Roger, and we're here for a quick update episode. So normally we do the previews during the show, but this week we have a very special guest from the College Huddle, Cal, or as he's better known on Twitter, or more infamously known, I don't know, something like that, at the CGA Tour. So let's go ahead and welcome him to the stage as he previews OSU football for us this week. So welcome to the stage, Cal. What's up, bro? Good to see you.
Night Dangle. It is good to see you as well too. Glad we're talking some college football again here. Glad to be back and join. I kind of missed the Big 12 huddle days a little bit, but we'll get that going before too long. So great to join you here.
Yeah, we'll definitely run it back. So I'm excited about it. But for this week, we get to talk another football game. So the Battle of the Toilet Bowls. I mean, what? Yeah, kind of. Both programs not where we expected them to be or want them to be, but still a football game to play this week. So I'm excited about that. Thank you for allowing us to preview the OSU football team a little bit. Lots of changes at OSU, obviously, with Mike Gundy's departure. Also, everything going on there with trying to hire another coach. Some changes in the quarterback room. Last year was a little bit of a mess. We were kind of all over the place with the coaching staff. And here we are today at this game. So why don't you help the Night Nation and Night Faithful understand a little bit more about OSU's season and how we got here?
So we currently have a quarterback on our roster who was a former wide receiver this season. Like he came into this season and he's our second string quarterback as wide receiver. Now, long story short, he was a quarterback at one point for TCU, threw a touchdown in Boone Pickett Stadium against Oklahoma State, and then wild world of events here through the transfer portal, transfers to, I believe, Cal, then Auburn, then Oklahoma State as wide receiver. And then due to injuries, he has to play quarterback again this year because we had our starter who played 3 series in the first quarter this season and our only one of the year, get injured. He had a Jones fracture in his foot and has not yet come back. He did not play last week when we thought he might be targeting last week's game. And I don't see him playing another game this season because if he would play at this point, he wouldn't be burning a medical red shirt. So he'd be playing. We know by now he'd be playing, and he's not. And that's Haas Haney. Then the backup here is a guy named Zane Forge, who, believe it or not, Scott Frost was trying to recruit to go play at Nebraska because Zane Forge from Nebraska, Gatorade Player of the Year for Nebraska at one point, who has been the long-time heralded, he's the guy. He's going to come to Oklahoma State. He's going to be the Mason Rudolph, the Brandon Whedon, the pocket passer, 6'3", 225 frame, etc. And either he has no offensive line, or he is shell-shocked, or he is just really deer in the headlights. Probably a combination of all of the above, and we have not been able to put points up on the board in any game this season. Best game so far we've had on defense was last week against K-State at home, where basically 2 drives led K-State to points. Other than that, our defense was locked down and solid for the first time in forever. So that's promising, but the offense is not as promising at all. And that's where we stand today, is kind of a hope, luck, and a dream. Maybe we'll have a fighting chance to basically score some points against you guys, but I feel like maybe we can hold you to a little bit amount of points and maybe hold you to fewer than 21. So we'll see. It's probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, you mentioned 21 points. It's definitely the threshold that I put for us to be able to win this game. If we score more than 21 points, I think we win the game. And that's what I said on our podcast this week. So obviously for you guys, it's your job to stop us. So you mentioned defensive strengths, right? And how last game it was a close game or a closer game. I mean, I looked at the score this week and I was like, what happened to K-State this week? Talk a little bit more about what we need to be aware of and what the defensive strengths are for OSU this year.
We've got a freshman defensive lineman in Wendell Gregory Jr., who is incredible. I mean, he is the guy on our team that everyone's worried about week to week. He's on freshman award watch lists. He is the bright glimmer of hope, besides our running back, which I'll get to in a moment. But Wendell Gregory Jr. is the kind of man. Hopefully he comes back next year, depending on who the coaching staff is and how that all shakes out with NIL funding and everything. But he's a guy who was committed to South Carolina, transferred in from there, still has his red shirt. So he's a red shirt freshman for us. And he's only had 3 sacks on the year. He does not have a lot of stats that you go, oh, of course that's their guy. But he is the guy to make all the watch list. He's the guy who's getting chipped all the time by that tight end, by the center, by the guard, Poland, or whatever it may be. He's the guy who's getting double teamed. Now, if the rest of the defensive line could step up, really try to get in there and make a difference, then all of a sudden we're in the game. But that's our defensive front. And on the back end, we've got a guy named Parker Robertson, which the K-State game was basically the Parker Robertson game for me. He had 5 solo tackles and an interception. And I swear, every pass that was deflected, hit the ground, or was not caught by a K-State wide receiver or any quarterback hurry, number 8 was there. I mean, Parker was there. He was in it. He was mixing it up. And that's a guy that's a former walk-on for us. So those 2 guys are the names to really know coming into this weekend. Wendell Gregory Jr., if he all of a sudden is getting into the backfield and really lighting it up and getting to your quarterback, then there's a chance we could stay on the game a little bit longer. It just is really, really going to be, can we put up more than 21 points? Because we know you guys can score here and there and in bunches. And if you're not playing Texas Tech, which if anyone's not playing Texas Tech, then usually they're putting up some points in the Big 12. Texas Tech's the one stopper. But we kind of know 21 points is the margin we gotta get above, because we've scored more than that one time this season, and it was our only win, but it was our home opener against University of Tennessee at Martin, which was a long time ago before a lot of guys entered the portal and a lot of guys got injured and had other stuff happen too, I'm sure. So we're hopeful that we can hold you guys to some points to a certain point threshold where we can stay in the game longer until the end.
Yeah, definitely good to avoid the over. Unfortunately, we've had a couple of those seasons. So let's thanks for the defensive breakdown. Would you say that from a defensive perspective, is the defensive strength the ability to rush? Is it the linebacking core? Is it the defensive backs? Are we going to see, are they running 4 down linemen, 3 down linemen? Do they scheme? Like questions like that. Anything from that perspective that you can say about the defense?
So here's the really tough part. We just have not been a good defensive team up until last weekend. I mean, we're allowing just a historic amount of points basically everyone we play. Everyone probably knows the whole song and dance, but Oregon put up 69 on us. Granted, we scored 14 of those points as pick sixes, 2 pick sixes for Oregon there. So really our defense only allowed 55 points, but that's semantics at this point. Baylor put up 45 points on us. Tulsa, who is having a horrible season, put up 19 when we scored 12. Arizona put up 41. Houston put up 49.
I watched that Tulsa game, and there were some upset people on that Tulsa game. I mean, that Tulsa game was a big part of Gundy's firing. So,
and Tulsa should have scored more. Honestly, they should have scored more. They should have beat
their
us by
tight
more.
end. Their tight end was good.
That was disheartening. But just keep going. Like Cincinnati put up 49, Texas Tech put up 42, KU put up 38. Like our only good defensive game to talk about of maybe the scheme from our interim defensive coordinator is working out a little bit is it seems like the 4 down lineman approach. It seems like dropping a lot of basically everyone else in coverage worked real well. So if you guys can run the ball and get past those first 4, you'll have a lot of success. But that's comparing only to 1 games of this last week because we're last in the Big 12 in the stats that you're going to see. We're last in the Big 12 in offense. We're last in the Big 12 in offensive efficiency. And we're last in the Big 12 in defense. And besides last week, we would be last in Big 12 in defensive efficiency. Now, all of a sudden, we've jumped up because we held K-State to 14 points. And, Avery Johnson had an interception. And oh my gosh, what maybe we could be good on defense. And there's a lot of hope there. There's a lot of like, hey, could this be kind of some momentum going into the next season? And we do have a guy who's an interim defensive coordinator, but he's been throwing stuff at the wall, trying to see what works. We've been in nickel, we've been in dime, we've been in a 3-4, we've been in a 4-3. Like, I have seen so many different versions of this Oklahoma State defense that I have no idea what to expect this weekend. And I think we'll just try to keep doing stuff until it's broke. So I do expect us to kind of do what we did against K-State this past weekend, which is keep their more mobile quarterback in the pocket, let him make mistakes, and when it's all said and done, get to the quarterback. But basically with 4 rushers, we're not trying to really blitz you guys a ton, really get a guy out of the pocket, because we know with Avery Johnson, once he broke containment, we were cooked more or less. I think we could be doing the same thing this weekend here. I know your QB is a little bit hobbled from our podcast earlier, so we're not as worried about him just really running for a bunch of yards, but we're still going to be worried, and I think we're still going to try to get there with 4 instead of doing some outside blitz or engage eights or whatever, might be the word of the fancy defensive scheme right now.
Yeah, and Davy, who's our 4th string quarterback who comes in, if he's in, he's gonna more than likely be running, and he's a pretty good rushing quarterback. So if Taven has a tough day, they may try to break it up a little bit with that. But the bad part about that is they know they're going to run, so you load the box if you see Davy in there, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. All right, flip side of the ball, you mentioned a lot of lasts, but you didn't mention the most important one, which was last in the conference at 0-7. That's tough. Now we're not much better. We're at 1-6 in conference, but that must have been rough for OSU. OSU is used to winning. Like we were talking about on the podcast earlier, like there's only 4 teams in the entire conference that have a winning record against OSU, which include, and most of them aren't the legacy teams. So like OSU's used to winning football, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the NIL and what's going on there with you guys, because that was a big bone of contention with Mike Gundy and all of that. And then at the end of the session, I'd love to talk about that a little bit more. But for now, is there anything that you want to say is an offensive strength? Maybe the running game you were mentioning?
Well, I'm hoping that there's a transfer from UCF on our team. Now, he was in the intramurals at UCF this season, Noah Walters. And I got to correct myself. He played for North Alabama on the podcast we just recorded. I say he went to North Arizona, he went to North Alabama, but he transferred during the UCF intramural football season to Oklahoma State. So maybe he's got some insights he can give us from behind the scenes being at UCF. Probably the best spot to eat, but that's it. Because he wasn't on the UCF football team. That's our second string quarterback, to be clear. Like that is the guy right now on our second string, because we've moved that wide receiver who was a quarterback back to wide receiver. So I think that guy, Sam Jackson V, former quarterback, now wide receiver, he could be dynamic, but really Rodney Fields Jr., running back, when you're bringing it all together, he's the guy we want back next year. He's the guy who shows a little bit of flash, a little bit of substance. When our offensive line is able to get some type of blocking scheme going, some type of run blocking, it's like, has anyone seen Rodney? He's pretty good. And then we do have one other big bruiser back who is the size of Derrick Henry, but he's nowhere near as fast. Don't get me wrong. He's not making it. The reason why I say any comparison at all is so you can tell how big the dude is. Because like this is Trent Howland. He's 6'2", 6'3", 250. He is basically a fullback. I mean, I don't know why he's listed at halfback except for semantics as well. He is really good. He averages like more than 5 yards a carry. He just is not used all the time by Oklahoma State for whatever reason. I'm guessing it's some practice related issue. And also he's a change of pace back. You're not putting in that guy to be your bell cow because he's going to get worn down and all that type of stuff. He's not Derrick Henry, of course. He's nowhere near.
Goal line, short yardage situations, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And definitely also like, hey, we're backed up. We're like on our own 5 or we're on our own 10. Let's get a couple more yards of breathing room for a quarterback, because a quarterback, when I'm saying deer in the headlights or half a second slow, I really do mean that. I think Zane Ford could be a good quarterback in college football. I do not think this season is a good indicator either way if he's good or bad, because I do think he's in that. I use a lot of NFL comparisons because I think that's what's more prevalent for a lot of people. But I do think he is in that like Daniel Jones or Trevor Lawrence or Tua Tagovailoa, where like you've just been hit so many times, all of a sudden you're just throwing bad passes and you need a change of scenery. I mean, Daniel Jones being able to go to the Colts, all of a sudden he's got change of scenery and a new offensive coordinator and an offensive line. I think Zane Flores is in that same kind of boat where next year, if he's still at Oklahoma State, he could look pretty good. I think he's got good wide receivers. I think we have guys who can catch some passes. We have guys who have been making names for catching passes all throughout Oklahoma State's history. I think we still have that in the program, but can Zane get the ball out quick enough? Can he make the right read quick enough for us to score some points? Because so far, we got into the red zone. I swear we were in the red zone like the whole game last week against K-State, and that's how we put up almost 100 more yards than they did in the game, but still lost and only made 2 field goals. Like you see 6 on the board, you're usually thinking we missed extra point. No, we missed a field goal and we kicked 2 more, and then we had like 5 turnovers, and it seems like 4 of them were in the red zone. So if we can stop putting our foot in our mouth, not do a bunch of weird, crazy trick plays where last week Trent Howland, that big, huge Derrick Henry sized running back, threw an interception. Probably not a great play design overall. One would hope that we could, kind of learn a little bit from that. But also, that is where this team is at. We are doing trick plays in the red zone. We're doing everything we can. We're throwing everything at the wall because we know more than likely the interim head coach will not be back next year in probably any capacity. He's a former Oklahoma State guy. I could definitely see him back in some capacity, but maybe more of a side of the field that's not necessarily always on the field, if you know what I mean, and more of a player personnel kind of player aspects, wide receiver coach, maybe something like that as well. But we're throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks on offense and hoping that the running game we had this last week looks a little bit more like something we can continue going on the next couple weeks. But then this is the game we're up for. This is the game we're getting up for. We're getting excited for because after this one, just like you guys, for that last game of the season, it's a tough one. It's against Iowa State. Now, granted, ours is at least at home compared to yours, but Iowa State, like, come on. We'll be lucky to be in that game. That'll be a tough one. This is the last game of the season that I feel like we could put up some points, maybe have a chance. Just because, a couple of the games this season so far, you guys have not shown out to be great offensively, and that gives me a little bit of hope. Because then that means maybe our offense could outscore yours if yours isn't doing that well. So
Yeah, interesting. I mean, your description of the offense sounds like our Gus Malzahn years. This year, we had a problem for the first like 7 games of the season at the goal line. We're like 1 yard or 2 yard out, could not punch it in. And we've kind of corrected that the last 2 games on short yardage situations, but yeah, that's frustrating because we lost a couple of games that way too, especially against Kansas, right? So, all right. So I was going to ask you players to know, but after that description of your offense and your defense, I'm not sure if there are any other players to know. Are there any other bright spots on the roster that we should know?
Logan Ward is our kicker, and we tried a 54-yard field goal kick last week, and I swear he missed it by less than a yard. I mean, by feet. So that's the guy where, listen, if this is 2 years ago, I remember that game very vividly. We were on the Big 12 championship side of, man, we can beat UCF. We're going to the Big 12 championship. And then we lost 42-3. It just was bizarre with Ollie Gordon running back. And that team still went to the Big 12 championship, won 10 games, killed Texas A&M that year. But I remember that game being wet and sloppy, and we could not pass the ball. If this game trends the same way, it doesn't look like it from the weather forecast, but who knows? I'm not there, so you could tell me more. But if somehow Orlando is kind of wet and wild, I could see something happening where Logan Ward is a name we're constantly hearing on the TV trying some field goals because we're able to get again into the red zone, but just the script flips a little bit. This week we play way more conservatively because we're on the road and we just want to get the points, and we're not going for the touchdowns, not going for the glamour of a home win, and we're just trying to get the win, period. So that's a name here that I could also see as well as Logan Ward just making some kicks. And if our team's trying a 54-yarder, it means he's probably made it before in practice several times. So I would expect to see something like that again, especially if this 82 degrees, sunny kind of forecast works out where he's out there making some field goals and touching his leg strength.
All right, so kicking bombs and kissing moms. I got it. All right. Let's it's funny I say that because we had a kicker not too recently that was like that. That was his catchphrase, so to speak, right? So okay, one other quick thing I want to ask you about on the offensive line. What does your offensive line look like? Because our defensive front is going to be really, really active, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on your offensive line. So, can you give us a little bit of an understanding of what your offensive line, the quality of your offensive line is?
Well, yeah, it's not good, and I'm going to tell you a little bit why. The biggest news out of Stillwater last week going into the Kansas State game was that our offensive lineman, Noah McKinney, the top offensive lineman in the portal, transferred, signed with TCU last week. He was also on our roster last week. And that is a really just a clear sign to me that our offensive line is just not good. And that was the one thing that I wish we were better at to see if we had a clear notion of, is this quarterback good or not? We're in a spot right now where I don't know if our running backs are great or not. I don't know if our quarterback's good or not. I don't know if our wide receivers are good or not. If you're asking me, Oklahoma State fan, who do you want to come back next year? I'm like, kind of everyone except for the offensive line, but also I think they could be okay if they were better coached. And that really is just no one on our offensive line is making any noise, doing anything, getting any type of buzz whatsoever. And in fact, it's the other way around. Our offensive linemen look like just toothpicks out there that are just basically waving the white flag from the second that the ball is snapped. And they look a lot more like turnstile linemen than not. If you guys are able to get to the quarterback, want to bring 5 one play, you're gonna do it. Um, the youngest brother is very into all the football terms, so he is loving the term ear hole. And I cannot tell you how many times that Zane Flores' ear hole got smashed by a shoulder pad this past weekend, and he had no pocket awareness of what was coming. That is what scares me more about this game than anything else is the turnovers. We had 5 turnovers last week, almost 6. We got balls getting bad at the line of scrimmage because our offensive line is just not being able to provide enough force or really just resistance against the defensive line for Kansas State. And our quarterback looks like he's deer in the headlights because he doesn't have a lot of time to throw. And then all of a sudden, when he does have an extra second, he almost doesn't know what to do with it. It looks bad. I'm not the biggest offensive line guru overall, so I don't know a bunch of guys' names off the top of my head, but it's gonna be an uphill battle for sure. On our offensive line, hold down your defensive line because I know you've got some guys up there up front that are gonna just tear us apart if we're not ready, and I
That
don't
was
see it working out well.
Yeah, that was definitely the strength of the team for us this year is the D line, 100%. RJ Jackson Jr., since you mentioned batted balls, in the last 2 games, he's had two batted balls at the line of scrimmage. Against Houston, one of them, he tipped it to one of our other defenders who took it in for a pick six. So, this team will bat balls down. And if you've got a porous offensive line or an offensive line that's offensive, it's going to be a long day for you guys because we will bring the house and we've got a lot of talent at the defensive tackle spot, despite losing one defensive tackle. You know, kind of like what you were talking about with your DT, we have John Walker who gets double teamed and that opens up a lot of things for everybody else. And we've got 2 really, really good edges. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But if that's the case, it's not going to bode well for you because that is a strength versus a weakness for you guys, right? And so against the running game, we do pretty well, especially between the tackles. And the D line is pretty solid. All right, I'm going to ask you this: what's OSU? Now we've been in the Big 12 for a little while. We have our own opinions of ourselves within the Big 12, which right now isn't very good. What are OSU's fans' opinions of UCF as a program and fan base right now?
Sounds weird with the student population of the size that you guys have, but I'd say it's we don't know many UCF fans. We don't think a ton about UCF. I mean, the grand scheme of things, like we of course think about the other teams we've been playing in the Big 12 much more frequently. but also like Arizona State have just made more noise in the conference, either in basketball or football. And I think we're more excited to know more about UCF. I think that this is normally during a normal Oklahoma State season where we're at least fighting for a bowl game by this point. You'd see a lot of Oklahoma State fans going down to Orlando, using it as an excuse to take a little bit more of a break, go see Disney World, and go to the game. But since this game is just kind of just, I mean, in the gutter for Oklahoma State fans, we're hoping we win, but we're not looking forward to it. Um, that I think plays a lot into the fact that we're just kind of like, hey, you know what, we'll think more about going to UCF for an away game, or think more about UCF fans in general next season. Um, we do know you guys are pretty good at athletics in every other sport besides football, and including football, because you got a win against us already in one of our better seasons. And yeah, I mean, it seems like you guys beat us in everything, but we don't play that often either. We just don't play that often either. I
Yeah.
mean, like we're really just not. I mean, is your closest rival West Virginia, would you say? But they're kind of rivals with
No,
Cincinnati in the Big 12,
no.
like
I mean, we really in the Big 12, we really don't
Houston.
have no, but Houston
Yeah.
definitely not. They're not a rival at all. We don't care about Houston, to be honest. We didn't care. We beat them up in the American. The only one that's closest to a rival that came with us is probably going to be Cincinnati, just because they talk a lot of smack. And we ran the conference for a long time, and then um, when we were transitioning to Gus, then they kind of rode our coattails to get to the playoff. And so they kind of feel a little entitled. So it's more of them talking smack than us. So it's kind of like the last couple years, since they've joined us in the Big 12, they've kind of turned up the wick a little bit on that. So it's starting to get to an annoying level, but we really don't have any true rivals within the Big 12. We never saw Cincinnati as one. Houston never was one because they never won any of the important games, to be honest. I mean, even when they were ranked, like they had Casey Keenum and were ranked like ninth or something like that and undefeated, we beat them at home. So I think for them, the other part is they just don't have any fans. I mean, you look at TD Stadium, they built this new stadium and it's only 40 some thousand people. They're having a great season and it's 3/4 empty, and they're offering $15 or buy one get one seats. Like that would never happen at UCF.
Well, now I will say I gotta be that guy to mention tickets for this game are $7. So there's Oklahoma State, like in a 1-9 season, $40, $30 a ticket, I think was the cheapest. Now I'm really going off of just small numbers here, right? But I know you guys have a big student population. We just don't run into UCF all that often to think of you guys much more. And that's not putting it in any. There's no throwing shade. It just is. I would expect the other way around too. And
Well,
then the Houston.
you guys returned all your tickets. Remember, we're sold out for the season for our season tickets. So even in this thing, so most of that is that. But again, when you run into a one-win season, in the Big 12, I think honestly, it's even. I think for us, like there was a lot of excitement, regardless of the output of the team or performance of the team, because we were in the Big 12 and now power conference. That's starting to wane, and the fan base is like, you need to put a winning. We're going to vote with our seats. You know what I mean? So you need to put a winning product on the field. UCF does not have these types of valleys, right? We don't, right? That's not who we are as a program. Never has been. And being in the in SEC country and in the South, football is a sign of relevance within the university system within the state of Florida. And Florida State's been crap. Florida's been crap. Miami's done what Miami always does, gets a few wins, and the U is back, and then they crater, right? So, for us, that's not acceptable. We're a football school, have been a football school since day one, have always done well in our conferences. So having a stretch, it's not just being bad, but being like against Texas Tech, we looked like we didn't belong on the same field. And that's not UCF football. We've never, ever played like that, except for maybe like a couple years in the MAC, but then we turn right back around and win again. We don't have 3, 4, 5, 6 year stretches of mediocrity. It just doesn't happen. We play for conference championships, always have, always will. Gus really drove us into a ditch and left us with nothing. Scott, it's going to take a minute for him to build us back up again if he's going to be successful. So it's just a different experience. So we'll see what happens. So for this game, if you had to say who you thought was going to win, who's going to win and what would the score be?
I think it'll be UCF 35, Oklahoma State 17. I think it's a 35-17 win for UCF. Ultimately, if the weather was looking worse and this was more of a ground game, I'd feel better. Our defense played incredibly well last week, so I don't want to take anything away from them. They held Avery Johnson to less than 200 yards throwing and held Kansas State to 107 or held Avery Johnson and Kansas State to 107 yards rushing. Like that is a historic defensive day for us in any year, let alone a 1-9 season. But our offense just cannot score points, and I do think that really gets to us at some point. I think that there's a way we win. There's a way Oklahoma State wins. It's like a 5% chance. But at the end of the day, it's a 1-9 team going to an away game where we know you guys can score points. Like we just know it's possible, and we can't. Like it's more of our offensive ineptitude than anything else. I think our defense could play well. I think it could be a 21 to 10-point win as well. I could see that happening. But I just really think it's got to go an Oklahoma State way. Like, there's got to be some fluky muffed punt or, we win the turnover battle by 2 or something, and it's inside your red zone because our offense, man, it's hard. It's really hard to see our offense do a lot, even though we had more yards last week than K-State and still lost by 8. So it's just really, really hard for me to think Oklahoma State's got a good chance in this game, period, because it's an away game and because I've seen you guys put up 45 points on a Big 12 team. Like, that's nothing to scuff at or to put your nose up at. So I hate saying it because I'm an Oklahoma State fan. I'm wearing orange. I work for the university. I drive to the university every single day, it seems like, for work. And I'm going to walk across the street and look at all the football team and look at the football, stadium, all type of stuff here when I leave today and still go, yeah, really just not hopeful. Not hopeful. It probably is what it is. Our offense just doesn't show anything for me to think that, hey, we've got a good chance. And that's where it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah, I had us at 38-14 in my score prediction for this week. So it'll be interesting to see. But for me to get to that 38, it needs some help from the defense to get some turnovers. And looking at your stats, especially with your quarterback situation, I think it was like 2 touchdowns to 5 turnovers. I think we can rattle him, especially with the O-line and maybe force some turnovers. So that's where that's coming from, more than any confidence in our offense per se to put up 38 points. Okay, 2 real quick things, and then I know you're on a tight timeline. So real quickly, last time we talked, one of the big talking points we've had in the Big 12 huddle, which is we're both part of that, and it has been the NIL situation with Mike Gundy. It's one of the reasons he was let go. They asked him to take a pay cut, put towards the NIL. He's been a staunch detractor when it comes to NIL and all of that stuff and paying the players. So what's the state of the program as far as NIL and acceptance and et cetera? Because OSU's always had T. Boone Pickens money, right? He passed away a while ago. And now you weren't participating in NIL, you weren't participating in paying the players. So where does that stand now? Because really, it's a fact of life if you're going to be competitive in the Big 12 now.
So we have the money is there. It just has not been given to everyone yet. And the reason why I know that and say that confidently is because of how good our basketball recruiting is. Gundy did not want to recruit off of a certain type of guys and did not want to recruit off a certain type of valuation on guys for NIL money. He just was against it overall as a coach. But I think the next guy that comes in has got to make a splash. He's going to be a splash hire. He's going to be a big name of some type. And that is going to get all the donors to go, okay, you know what? I think we can do it. Because Next year, our basketball team has a top 5 in the nation recruiting class. No matter what site you look at, it's top 3 to top 5, which means it's either third or fifth. But we've got a good basketball recruiting class NIL wise. That also is not operating at the top of the NIL in basketball because we're in the Big 12. We know everyone's got NIL in the Big 12. But I think we're gonna hire some big name that brings a lot more of the donors to go. I think they're doing this right. Our athletic director has hired on our men's and women's basketball coach and our wrestling head coach, which have all been great hires so far. Granted, not a lot of time has passed where it's like, hey, 5 years in, how are we standing? But a couple years in, this is the second year of the Steve Lutz era for Oklahoma State. On Wednesday, November 19th, we've got a game against South Florida where I may or may not know that Alex Golesh is coming to see us. He's not, but it will be funny if he decides to travel with the basketball team and come up to Stillwater to try to say hi. And that's one of the names that's been floated around. Also, former Oklahoma State quarterback Zach Robinson. You've got down Eric Morris, the University of North Texas guy. You've got Ryan Silverfield. You've got GJ Kenny down at Texas State. There are 5 million names we've all heard throughout the Big 12 and through Oklahoma State. There's just also 5 million jobs open. So I hope we're not the last one, trying to make a pick from a handful of guys. Instead, hopefully, we're able to operate from a position of power. And to that point, I'd say historically, we have paid Mike Gundy or Oklahoma State coaches like Les Miles since the 2000s good money. Like they've been paid top 3, top 5 in the Big 12 every single year. It's not hard for me to believe that we can not. I mean, it's easy for me to believe we can do that again. We can get back on paying the next head coach a big amount and bring him in and bring him from somewhere that, oh, wow, I can't believe Oklahoma State got that guy to come to Stillwater and be the guy to be managing everything. I really would love to see us get the University of North Texas guy, Eric Morris, and bring up Masterson because who knows what our quarterback outlook is right now. I'd love to see a guy bring in his guy and other guys with him possibly to reinvigorate the roster a little bit to give some more hype going on because even though this team has been very injury prone, a lot of transfers going out the door, and a lot of new guys coming in the door this year, still a lot of those transfers we had in this year their eligibility like is almost over. So we're gonna have to replenish this roster some way, somehow. And I'm hoping it's with that new head coach and a lot of new sparkles and all the new, I'm gonna sound so old, but all the new jive hands and all type of stuff going on. We're excited because man, it would be fun to be excited about the football team again. It's not been that long that we haven't been excited. This is only the second year, but next year would be great to have a lot more optimistic of an approach to the season.
Okay. I will say this about the coaching hire. I don't think, a lot of those names, GJ Kinney didn't do well. Ryan Satterfield, he was a popular name, but he's kind of petered out here with Memphis over this year. So it's going to be tough but I like the idea. Like we used to go after a hot coordinator and then build around that coordinator. And that's kind of where I think the way to go is these days. Whoever you bring in, it's not just about paying the coach, it's also and the staff, because you have a staff pool, right? That's the two typical things that are part of a contract. But now most of them are asking for an NIL pool of a minimum amount so that they can quote unquote be successful. So, it'll be interesting to see who they bring in, especially with all of the other names that are out there right now looking for a coach. All right. Lastly, bringing the sparkle back. Sorry, man. I could.
It's fair. It's fair. I mean, maybe Kane Womack, the Alabama defensive coordinator, who's won a game in Stillwater when he was the South Alabama head coach. Maybe maybe we get Colin Klein out from Texas A&M and he wants to be head coach all of a sudden. I'd be worried about him going a little bit farther north to Kansas State, where he's granted very well known and a former quarterback there. But maybe we get another couple of those guys. There's a lot of names floating around, is all I can say.
I feel like you guys need to look for someone like Houston looked for with like Willie Fritz or like Lance Leopold, somebody like that. That's a steady, like been successful, but builds programs, right? Because I feel like you guys need to build the program, and that's a longer term build. I don't think bringing someone in and trying to turn the key right away is the way that OSU needs to go because of everything that Gundy was to the program. That's just what I feel, but who knows? All right, one last question because I know you got to go. What special food do OSU fans at tailgates or in the stadium do you get? Like there's Cougar Tails at BYU, there's ski shots at Utah. What does OSU have?
We are known for our bacon cheese fries. In fact, they are sweet peppered bacon cheese fries. Now, you can't get them in the stadium. They're not a tailgate item because they're sweet pepper bacon cheese fries. You got to make them the right way. So they're sold at the one and only Eskimo Joe's here in Stillwater. They're amazing. They're fantastic. They are the thing to get. If you don't get that, it's the Hideaway Pizza. Again, very funny mascot looking bizarre, but great pizza, amazing pizza. It's a fan favorite of everyone in my family. If I'm coming down from Stillwater down to Oklahoma City for a night, everyone's asking me, "Can you grab pizza or Joe's cheese fries?" Those are the two things. In the stadium, you know what? Honestly, I'd say we got some great Iron Monk 1890 beer that's brewed here in Stillwater. So that is the beverage of choice at a game. They always do the cans, especially whenever our tennis team won a national championship, bright yellow tennis ball cans. Golf team won the national championship last year. It was bright white, but it was, all of the fun golf themed cans as well. So 1890 Iron Monk, that is the kind of beer to get in the stadium. Besides that, we've got plenty of great food and eats in the stadium, but they're all kind of more of the pizza, hot dog, Coke, all that fun stuff. So a lot of the stuff you got to do is before a game or afterwards, either at Joe's or Hideaway.
Yep, or bananas and shirtless people in the stands. That's another.
Hey, we're having fun, Roger. We've
Yeah.
won one game. We're having fun. We're packing out the stadium as much as we can. We're enjoying it. It's the no shirty one. They're letting me kick a field goal on the field during the game. Like, what are we doing? It was really during halftime. But hey,
So
I
did
won
you
some
make
money.
it? Did you make it?
I made it. What are we
How
talking
far
about
out
here?
was it? You didn't
It was
tell
a
me this.
25 yarder, 25 yarder.
And you
Yeah.
made it.
So,
Is there
oh yeah, I made
video?
it.
You got to share video.
Roger, down at the bottom, click on
Oh.
it. Add it to the screen here. We got 15 seconds.
Wow, not even much of a windup either.
Oh no, not at all. I have that video ready to go, just in case anyone's curious. Of course I do,
That's
because that is the
awesome.
highlight of my Oklahoma State season. But yeah, got $250. Got myself some good eats from that because it's just a grocery store in Oklahoma. Shout out to the sponsor there, Crust Foods. But yeah, it's we're having fun with the season. That's all I can say. We're having fun.
And as much as I loved having our K-State Cocaine Willie representative on, you don't have a drink called the Nancy that is your best drink. So I'm just saying, no Nancy's for you. Okay, that'll wrap. Go ahead.
Good point. Good point. No, good point. Good point.
That'll wrap us up for this week. I will be at the game, so I'll send you some shots from the game. Where can people find you before we wrap up, and we'll go from there.
So I am at the CGA Tour here. It is just right there at the Calvin Glenn Alexander Tour, coming to you at least once a week here on all the podcasting platforms, but especially YouTube, because everyone wants to see this beautiful face. Or on Spotify, we're on video there as well too. So at the CGA Tour, the Calvin Glenn Alexander Tour.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us this week. It's been a whole heck of a lot of fun. I always love spending time talking football with you, both on the air and off the air. We'll get the Big 12 huddle going back again. Have a great week. Like, subscribe. Go Knights and
go Pokes.
Go Pokes. All right. And they lost the background.